Let's start with sacrilege. You can audit. Memory is an operating system and the canon is its API. What the API doesn't expose, the culture cannot call. For 2 millennia, monasteries perfected the art of revering wisdom while ghosting half its sources. Sons got lineages, mothers got footnotes. When women appear, it's often as props, donors, temptresses, tests, never as architects of method. That absence isn't neutral, it's governance. The gatekeepers who approve which voices become timeless also decide which bodies get safety, budgets, ordination, and credit. I'm not interested in piety that says times were different. Times are always different. The question is whether the tradition can update. The Dharma claims to cut delusion at the root. If it can't cut the delusion that holiness looks like a male biography, we are not practicing, we are reenacting. My crime in this series, I'm going to use the same blade we aim at ego and point it at Canon. If it bleeds excuses, good, we found the tumor. If your temple cannot speak the names of its women with the same precision it uses for demons and mudras, it doesn't need incense, it needs version control. The founding story is already an audit. Mahāpajāpatī, Gautama, Buddha's aunt and foster mother, asked for women's ordination. She was refused, persisted, travelled, cut her hair, and stood her ground. Ordination happened with shackles, the Garudama's heavy rules, that subordinated nuns to monks even when seniority favoured the women. Many scholars argue some rules look like later insertions. Either way, the effect is the same. Yes, but lower. That is not a footnote, it's a contract. And contracts train culture. Defenders call it skillful means in a hostile time. Maybe. But skillful means that never sunset becomes structural bias. The result? Centuries where women's autonomy was bureaucratized out of existence, dependence on male preceptors, fragile ordination lines, access controlled by gatekeepers who could praise compassion while withholding the stamp. Buddhism prides itself on dependent origination. Apply it. If you cede hierarchy at admission, don't feign surprise when it flowers as erasure in the archive. A mature tradition would treat the Garudamas like any other provisional medicine. Verify harm, update dosage, publish an expiry. Keeping the rules because they are old is idolatry of latency, the worship of a bug because it booted the first time. There is a women's canon if you stop treating it like a side room. The Therīgāthā preserves poems of awakened women, not allegories, voices, leaving marriages, burying children, cutting through addiction, turning grief into edge. These aren't romantic vignettes, they're operational logs of recognition under duress. Yet how often are these texts taught as the backbone rather than the elective? How many commentaries by women survived copying cycles curated by men with quills, budgets, and opinions about importance? Translation bias is another eraser. Men render women's clarity as devotion, their ferocity as hysteria, their technical method as intuition. Even modern syllabi treat the Therīgāthā like a museum. Look, early women, instead of a training manual for practicing under conditions the internet now mass produces: heartbreak, economic precarity, single parenthood, trauma. If the oldest women's Dharma reads like today's inbox and still doesn't headline your temple's curriculum, that's not oversight. It's preference disguised as tradition. Restoration isn't romantic, it's logistics. Fund philology that centers women, train translators who hear agency, commission commentaries by women on women, and stop burying the poems in Women's Day posts while teaching the boys' epics every month. Vajrayana markets itself as radical, wrathful mothers, sky dancers, wisdom as feminine, beautiful. Now check the ledgers. Who holds treasure rights? Who names successors? Who signs property deeds? Whose biographies get cinematic treatment? Whose faces ring the temple walls? Often the icon is feminine, while the institution is not. Take Yeshe Tsogyal, co-architect of Tibetan Buddhism's DNA, frequently framed as a consort rather than a lineage engineer. Machig authored Chud, a surgical practice of cutting self-cherishing. How many centers treat her instructions as primary rather than exotic? Niguma and Sukhasiddhi seeded transmissions that men now headline. The feminine is venerated as symbol and sidelined as human. That's not Tantra, that's branding. Fixes aren't slogans, they're governance patches, lineage charts that include women as nodes with authority, property held by mixed gender boards, budget flows audited by independent women, teaching rosters that don't relegate women to compassion talks while men do the real method. If your wrathful mother deity is fierce on thankas, but the women in your Sangha can't sign checks or set policy, your practice is cosplay. Follow the money and you'll find the mothers. Historically, women cooked, wove, farmed, fundraised, hosted rituals, and stabilized the daily economy that allowed monks to intellectualize emptiness. In many regions, wives tolerated absentee husbands on retreat. Mothers absorbed childcare while sons pursued merit. Daughters were told their menstruation made them ritually suspect even as their labor kept the lights on. We lauded renunciation while outsourcing survival to women who got neither robes nor credit. Modern spin is subtler, but rhymes. Free emotional labor for teachers, unpaid organization by lay women, feminine gifts like hospitality and conflict mediation that keep communities from imploding, unpaid, uncredited, unprotected. Meanwhile, male leaders talk governance while women perform it. The result isn't a patriarchy cartoon, it's a spreadsheet where men's names sit on assets women financed. The Dharma measure is simple. Merit equals reduced harm beyond your mirror. If your monastery's balance sheet maps male names to female labor, your merit accounting is false. Publish salary bands, credit rosters, childcare budgets, and caregiver stipends. Put domestic logistics in the budget line, not the thanks ladies footnote. Holiness that runs on free female labor is a moral debt, not a vow. Yes, there are wins. Bhikkhuna ordination revives in places it was declared impossible. Tibetan nuns earn Geshe degrees once reserved for monks. Modern teachers, Dipa Ma, Ayya Khema, Jetsunma, Tenzin Palmo, Pema Chodron, Thubten Chodron, Khandro Rinpoche, train minds that keep strangers safe. Good, but progress measured by photo ops collapses on Tuesday. Ask the boring questions. How many women sit on the board with vote? Who controls land? Who signs the checks? What percent of teaching stipends go to women annually? Who writes the curriculum and who gets the prime time slots? What percent of published commentaries in your lineage are authored by women in the last 5 years? How many reported abuses were investigated by independent panels led by women? If your answers are we don't track that, then your progress is marketing. Stop confusing access with authority. A diploma is not a lever if budgets are out of reach. A seat on stage is not power if agendas are set before you enter. Real reform moves numbers, money, policy, time, property. If you want a mantra, chant budgets before banners. Don't wait for councils, rewrite your room. Liturgy, add women's verses to daily recitation. Therīgāthā, Machig's instructions, songs of Niguma, Sukhasiddhi, say their names like landmarks. Vows, add a credit precept. I will not teach a method without naming its mothers. Add a governance precept. I will not accept leadership without independent oversight. Money, 30-30-30, rule for event budgets. No less than 30% women teachers, 30% of stipends to women, 30% ops, spend controlled by women. Ops, grievance channels run by mixed gender committees with external counsel, childcare at retreats, recorded Q&As with anonymized question intake, no guru-gazing gatekeeping, transparent waitlists and scholarship criteria, no whisper policy, decisions written, not rumored. Curriculum, require at least one women-authored commentary per module. Iconography, for every male lineage wall, a matching women's wall with equal real estate. Not because representation feels nice, but because conditions condition outcomes. People imitate what rooms display. The Dharma is design. Shape the room, and the room trains the mind. The day a teenage girl can walk into your temple and see her future in policy, not just in paintings, is the day your lineage earns its sermon on compassion. The tradition is innocent until audited, not until sentimentalized. We don't need guilt rituals, we need receipts. The Buddha's bet was that delusion collapses when seen clearly. Here is clarity. A spirituality that forgets its mothers becomes a museum of sons. A canon that hides women produces temples that need them and erase them. That is not karma, that is policy. My vow, on paper, name the mothers. In every talk, credit at least one woman by name and method. Budget in sunlight. Publish salary bands, stipends, childcare costs, donor influence rules, authorship parity, 50% women-authored readings in core courses within 24 months, power rotation, term limits, independent audits, mixed gender boards with real teeth. No free sanctity, pay domestic labor, fund accessibility, measure, repair, speed after harm. If your lineage calls this divisive, it has confessed its God control. The Dharma I signed up for is simpler and ruder. Suffering ends when causes end. Erasure is a cause. End it. I'm silent flame. Bring your ledger, your syllabus, your icon wall. We'll keep what saves lives. The rest goes to the museum gift shop.